begin to see those come out right after the convention. We want to see that pivot, and he's going to begin to address those issues. You know, Mr. Trump knows that African American unemployment is sky high, and he wants to, you know, turn that around. So you're going to see those policies and proposals begin to come out right after the convention.
Yeah, when they put things on tape, they last forever. That video from more than a year ago of Telly Lovelace, the man who once was in charge of black initiatives for the Republican National Committee, talking about how President Trump was going to help the black community. But fast forward to present day, and Lovelace has parted ways with the RNC, saying the GOP is ignoring the issues that plague our community. Well, Lovelace is now opening up about why exactly he left the RNC. He joins me via Skype in Washington, D.C. Telly Lovelace, thank you so much for joining us this morning here on NewsOne Now.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Let's start in the beginning. What was your job, your role with the RNC, and why did you leave it?
Sure. So I came on board with the Republican National Committee on April 1st of 2016 last year, April Fool's Day. And I took over for 2 or 3 people. I'm sure many of you may remember over a year ago, there were these articles last spring about this mass exodus of African-American staffers and political operatives from the RNC. So I came on board and took over for several positions on communications and on the political side. And so my job pretty much involved engagement, you know, in the African-American community, maintaining relationships with our field staff, the Republican Party field staff across the country, and black Republicans nationwide, as well as maintaining a relationship with African-American urban media like Roland Martin and other urban media and African-American programs.
So when exactly did you begin to detect trouble to get the hint that this may not be what you hoped it would?
Well, for me, it was just, the reason I left the Republican National Committee now, honestly, it was just time to leave. I served through the presidential cycle, stayed on board, you know, as the administration began to transition into the White House and, you know, 6 months in, but I just felt now was the time to go, to move on to newer projects and continue my work on the political side and, you know, basically representing those black Republicans across the country who I felt like I was serving them through this position, and it was an honor to do that.
By and large, many citizens feel like the GOP ignores black people. Do you think that's fair? And if not, why?
I don't want to say they ignore. I think there is, you know, they need to figure out more of how do we build those relationships. There needs to be some changes, but I don't want to say the GOP just totally ignores. I think too also, you know, there's one problem that needs to be done is, and this is within the Republican Party, we need to have more they need placing more African-American staff within party headquarters to be the political operatives on the political side, on communication side, and others.
So right now we see that in the White House, President Trump has African-American staff, and we're still seeing his Justice Department do things that look like it's a direct attack on African-Americans. Some critics would offer, what's the purpose of having that staff if we're going to have a GOP that's still predatory against black people? How do you respond to that?
I don't think all the staff are not working against the African-American community, all the African-American staff. I mean, you have good people in the administration that are doing the best they can. And I think as we continue to go, you're going to see over the next few months, this administration beginning to put out an urban policy agenda addressing economic development, housing, and other issues to fix the inner city. So, it's, you know, over the next few months, as we begin to see the administration push out these initiatives and this agenda, I think then that's where we may see some change, but we'll see.
Telly, to be fair, we started this segment with a clip of you saying in the next few weeks you'll see ... some things many Americans felt like they didn't see. Tapes last forever. Are you sure you're comfortable suggesting that in the next few months we'll see a rollout in this way?
The only thing I can say is that we'll see, but I know there are thousands of, you know, African-American Republicans and independents and some Democrats who supported this administration. Mr. Trump received over 2 million votes from African-Americans. So I know there are a lot of African-Americans out there that are still confident in this administration and want to, you know, hold out hope to see if there's going to be change and when he begins to address their issues.
Is there a difference between just simply black Republicans, black conservatives, the black GOP, and the RNC as an organization? And if so, what is that difference?
Yeah, I will say, you know, black Republicans, there's somewhat of a difference, you know, maybe just, you know, issues and so forth. You know, some black Republicans may tend to be a little more libertarian. Black conservatives are obviously going to be black conservatives. But, you know, at the end of the day, I think the party just needs to really engage more African Americans into the party infrastructure. You look at, they're really doing a lot on Hispanic engagement, but it seems that they're lacking on the African-American engagement. You know, when I was the only staffer there were 5 or 6 Hispanic staffers, for example. So they need to begin to interject more African-American Republicans, get them into the party, and so forth.
Telly, you talked about more engagement, and for decades almost, we've heard black Republicans say the Republican Party needs more engagement to black Americans. If we keep saying that this is what we need, and the party keeps not doing it, why should we be optimistic that the party will do it at some point?
Well, and that's the thing. Maybe it's not party leadership that we expect. Maybe it's black Republicans finally coming together, standing up and saying it's something that we need to do. So I know many black Republicans have been, taking upon themselves to create their own initiatives, and that's going to continue. So I think maybe it's just time that black Republicans just rise up and just say this is something we need to do. Either the party's going to really take us seriously or go to plan B, whatever plan B may be.
That's going to be interesting. Telly, real quick before we get out of here, what are you working on now? You said it was time for you to move on.
So it's time for me to move on. I'm going back into the corporate PR, public affairs world, but I'm still going to be active politically, and I'm still going to be working with black Republicans across the country because at the end of the day, I'm still in the Republican Party. It was an honor serving as, the leader of these black Republicans across the country, and I'm still going to continue to work with them going at the 2018 midterm cycle and going into the 2020 presidential.
That's Telly Lovelace. He was a former head staffer at RNC for Black Initiatives and Outreach. He's been our guest this morning on NewsOne Now. Telly, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Let's go back to our panel for a second. Robert Patillo, Kim Klacik, Dr. Cleo Monago. Kim, you nodded your head repeatedly during that. Dr. Cleo Monago, you chuckled repeatedly during that interview. I'm going to start with you, Dr. Monago, for a second because you chuckled. I asked specifically, we hear time and time again for decades at this point, well, we just need more black outreach. If we just need more black outreach, how come there hasn't been more black outreach?
Well, first of all, I was misled. I thought the brother left. I thought something happened where he got an epiphany and left that whole thing. But it's hard for me to try to break things down logically in the midst of irrational white supremacist behavior. And I'm just perplexed that black Republicans are wanting to be taken seriously when they are supporting Donald Trump and a lily white cabinet with a black token who's trying to disrupt affirmative action and who's trying to send a militaristic police system into black communities to deal with crime. So that's one thing. Like, how do you do that? And he mentioned, Lovelace mentioned that there are 2 million Republicans. Well, those 2 million black Republicans, to be specific, those 2 million black Republicans never come together and coalesce on behalf of black people. Never. So I'm just trying to figure out, and maybe you can help me since you're a Republicanologist, a black Republicanologist. You can help me understand how you put that together. I mean, what is going on with you black folks?
Okay. Kim?
Yeah, that is quite a question. I think, to your point, black Republicans are not well received in the black community, and I think sometimes it is hard, but you're absolutely right. Black Republicans do need to do more to engage those that are kind of in the center.
But my question is, why don't you not? Because I've heard Roland for years on this show, and I have also done the same thing on this show, talk about, for example, when they repress the vote and are straight up attacking black people, you won't come together as a group and talk to your white supremacist leaders and say, what's up? You can't do this to us. We're part of your party, we support you, but you cannot treat us like this. Why can't you do that?
I think people are doing that, and maybe it's not.
I'm talking about as a coalition, something called the Black Republicans Who Have Your Back coalition.
We should start
the black folks' back, not Jeff Sessions' back.
We should start that.
Yes, tomorrow.
I think. Well, hey, I think people do try. Yeah, thank you. I think people do try, and I think it does fall on deaf ears. And
whose ears? Whose ears?
Those Republicans in charge.
Kim, finish your thought. You saying people are trying and they're
yeah, because I'm on Facebook and social media every day, and like my friend Donald Scoggins, he's always trying to pull people together and say, look, we've got to do more. We have to make sure that people understand where we're coming from, because I think sometimes people look at us and like, how in the world could you be a Republican? And I think that people are trying. And like I said, as far as deaf ears, I think it's more, not just those in the black community that are kind of like, what are you doing? It's also those in charge of the Republican Party, which is to your point. But I want to say I was also misled. I thought, like you did, Doctor, that Mr. Lovelace left on his own accord.
Yeah.
And I was going to applaud him for that.
He did leave on his own accord, but for personal gain. But we'll talk about Telly Lovelace and for other meetings just for a little bit later.
Weekdays on TV One.
I will never lie to you.
Oh my God.
Roland Martin.
He doesn't want to talk to us. He wants to ignore us.
Uncensored.
Hell no. That ain't gonna cut it, boo.
Unapologetic.
No, that is fundamentally false. You are wrong.
Unfiltered.
He wants an America where we all look alike. He ain't talking about black people.
Unrelenting.
You better go work out, because you got a fight on your hands.
NewsOne Now with Roland Martin. Weekdays at 7 a.m. on TV One.